I'm gonna come back this time without the music, but we coming back because we had technical difficulties, and I feel like I am just shining. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, we are coming to you to discuss our topic, which is alopecia. You know, we all know that right now we're going through some things in the world because of what happened the other night, and we feel as though the main topic that needs to be discussed has not been discussed yet. And so that's what we want to do. So without further ado, I'd like to bring to you this young lady that I've known. Matter of fact, the last time I seen you was at an airport.
Yeah.
I don't know if we was in Charlotte or Atlanta or somewhere, but it wasn't in North Carolina. It was somewhere else.
Agreed.
But I know that you travel around educating people, empowering people, inspiring people, and tell the people your name, where you're originally from, and exactly who Sandra Du Bois is. Please.
Yeah. Well, hello. First of all, I'm sorry we were having some technical difficulties, but can you hear me clearly? Do we have good airwaves now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Wonderful. So thank you guys for sticking in with us. So my name is Sandra Du Bois. I'm also known as the Bald Beauty Queen. I'm hailing from the Boogie Down Bronx. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I live in Raleigh, North Carolina for the past 15 years. So I guess I'm considered a Southern girl now. Let's see. What do you want to know? Where should I start? I mean, my alopecia story goes back many years. So you tell me, where do you want to start with this, Crystal?
Well,
and
first,
thank you for having me on, by the way. Thank you for.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, I want to start with the fact of, who Sandra is before alopecia. Like, your artist. Tell the people who Sandra. And pronounce your last name again, because I always pronounce it wrong. Du Bois?
So it's Sandra Du Bois.
Du Bois. And what is that? Is that French, or what is that?
It is, oui, yes, it is French.
Ooh,
but I don't speak French, but it is my dream destination to go to Paris. So, just kind of speaking that into existence. So by the time I get there, I'll be ready.
Hit me up, because I can make that happen. So listen, tell the people about what you do.
Okay.
And life before alopecia.
Alopecia. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever even had that question before. So thank you for that. So, life before alopecia, it started when I was 25 years old, right? So we're talking about my teenage years, young adult. Like I said, I was born and raised in the Bronx. I'm a performing artist. I'm a singer. I've now become a motivational speaker and an author. But singing and acting was always my passion ever since I was a little girl, growing up in New York City, going to the theater. And that was always my aspiration, to be on stage, to share my gift, and to connect with my audience. And, really, and at the age of 25, I had just become a mother. I was married at the time. I'm divorced now, but I was married at the time. And we had just had our first daughter, Maya. She was 1 year old when alopecia started for me. So it started with just some small bald patches. And then within, 3 years, it progressed to alopecia universalis, which is the rarest form of the condition, where you lose all of the hair all over your scalp and your body, which was very devastating. So Crystal has left me, but I'm going to talk to you guys because I know you're in there. So thank you. I see some hearts. I appreciate that. Stay with me. And feel free to ask questions, because we can see your questions going up as well. Come on.
I had to go get the New York sign. You said the Book of that box. I said New York.
There you go. I feel so welcome now. Thank you so much.
Yes. Listen, so how did you find out that you had alopecia? A lot of people don't know where things begin. Yeah. Everything starts small. Everything starts with something.
Sure.
Did you know in the beginning? How did you figure it out? Did you start having bald spots in your head? Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, so, I was just sharing with the audience that it started with I wore my hair very short, a cute little Anita Baker style. I was a singer. I was trying to be like, my idol, Anita Baker, have my little cute hairstyle. And then I had like these little round bald patches that were just so bizarre. And I literally went to my my primary care physician at first. And then he's the one who told me, you have a condition, an autoimmune condition called alopecia areata. I had never heard of it. What I knew about autoimmune disease was that my father had passed away when I was 20 of lupus. So that was a very scary diagnosis for me, because I'm like, what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm going to get lupus? And, does this mean the beginning of my health beginning to decline? So it's very, very frightening. And I went to a dermatologist who then explained that, unfortunately there was no cure, that it was something that was just cosmetic. So that was very comforting to know that, this is just something that's happening. It's your skin, right? It's not, you're not dying, Sandra. You know what I mean? And that was like, like, what does this mean? I'm only 25 years old,
Yeah.
And so, but it was a cosmetic thing. But the real damage of alopecia areata is the psychological impact that it has, right?
Wow.
On your self-esteem.
Yes.
No one likes to look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, we can put on some weight, we can have certain things happen, but yet we still feel a sense of control that, hey, if I get ready, I know I could drop these 15, 20, 30, 50 pounds, whatever. I still know that I can come back from it if I wanted to. But when you are having a condition where the doctors say there's no cure, then you just have to live with it, whether you like it or not. And so it's not what happens to you, it's how you go through the experience. It's what are you going to do as a result of it? And you get to decide how you show up in that experience. Are you going to be a victim, or are you going to find a way to get the victory? And that's really what this experience has taught me, is how to be victorious in spite of the things that we cannot change in our lives.
Now, I love that, because a lot of times people have something wrong with them, and they just get depressed. But before we start, I wanted to give a definition of alopecia, because everybody's hearing it, but you did say something about immune system.
Correct.
So I looked up alopecia. It says alopecia acretia is the medical term for bald. Acretia.
Would you call
patchy.
it? What did you call it?
How do you say the second word?
Alopecia areata.
Areata. Okay. Alopecia areata. See, this is what we're doing. We're getting educated. I don't mind being corrected, because that's what I want us to understand. So it's alopecia areata. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So alopecia areata, and areata means patchy. So that's why they say people start out with patchy bald spots. Is that correct, Sandra? Okay. Now,
correct.
The patchy bald spot can develop anywhere on the body, they said, including the scalp or the beard. So let's talk about that. Some people, so that means men get it too, because it says the scalp or the beard.
Yes.
So
and children.
What causes it?
And children. Let me just say that as well. So that's the thing about autoimmune conditions, right? In general, because there are over 100 different types of autoimmune diseases, and some of them kind of cluster together, if you will, that, if you get one, the reality of it is that you are susceptible to get other autoimmune diseases as well. It's something you are genetically predisposed to. So you have to be really conscious of that in your body. If you start to experience different kind of symptoms, that you let your doctor know that you're predisposed to autoimmune disease, right? So there is no absolute cause. There's a lot of theories of what could cause it. Like I said, you're just genetically predisposed. Maybe it's environmental. It's maybe for some people it's hereditary. Science has not figured out what that is at this point. And basically, whatever it's your body that's, we call it attacking itself, which sounds terrible, but whereas your body is supposed to be protecting you, an autoimmune disease causes your body to work against you. And, instead of making my hair grow, it takes away my hair as if it's a foreign object, like it's defending me. And and that shows up in so many different autoimmune diseases, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis. It's just it's a big myriad of different autoimmune conditions. And when you look at it that way, the one thing while I was going through this in the beginning was that I was really sober and grateful that it wasn't a bigger issue, that it was purely cosmetic. It wasn't something that was life-threatening, because there are so many autoimmune diseases that really do compromise the quality of your life.
Now, let me ask you this. Would it be safe to say that it attacks the hair follicles?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now I have read somewhere that stress is a contributing factor. Stress. So now let's talk about that, because a lot of people are stressed out.
Sure.
Now, how much do you think stress weighs in there? Because when I saw that, I said, "Ooh, that's a big one."
Yeah, and that's a great question. And so again, that's another theory. And I could say for everybody, it may be different. Your triggers may be different. I would say for me, I think that stress in my body definitely played a part in the onset of me developing autoimmune disease. Just like other people who are going through different types of autoimmune disease, they may go into remission, but then they may experience a very stressful time or some kind of trauma in their lives. And as a response to that, your body will then begin to, deal with that. It'll be the onset of whatever your autoimmune disease is again, right? But if you think about it this way also, there are children, babies that develop alopecia, right?
Yeah.
And so they're not stressed out. They just were born. They are just
Yeah.
playing around. They haven't experienced any kind of trauma. And they too are experiencing alopecia areata. So that too is just another theory. It's not absolute, because then how do you explain a child 1 year old that's developing alopecia areata or universalis? So for some people that could be a trigger. For others, it could be something else. We haven't figured it out yet.
So, Gunther, let me ask you this. When you first decided to accept it, did you start out by rocking a bald head? Did you start out wearing wigs? Or how did that process go?
Yeah, so the acceptance came years later, honey, because I was not about to accept no such a thing. I was not. I fought against it for a long time. And I absolutely started wearing wigs because I wore my hair so short. It was no way for me to cover it up. I couldn't camouflage it, right? It was like you're going outside, you have a bald patch, everybody's going to see it. And so I started to wear wigs initially, which was very difficult because today we have all of these amazing and beautiful wigs. You have lace front, you got
Yes.
a weave, like there's so many different options
Yes.
as far as hair. But over 20 years ago, specifically for African American women, we did not have all of those options. And a lot of those wigs did not look cute. They did not look natural. They did not have the different textures as it relates to African American women. And so it's like you have this Caucasian stringy hair. I'm like, this is not me. I don't want to wear this wig because I feel like I'm not being my authentic self. And it's not an expression of me as a Black woman. So that was very difficult to have to do that. But I did wear wigs for several years. But then they started to get itchy and hot. And I felt like I was hiding. I felt like I was pretending. And I did, you grow, you get to a place where the older you get, the more comfortable you become in your own skin, you realize that I don't need to put on for anybody else. I have the right to be who I am. And so I waited enough time for the hair to grow back and pray and hope it'll grow back, it'll grow back. And when it didn't, I had to decide, well, if it's not going to grow back, how do I want to show up in the world? I want to be comfortable in my skin.
Right.
I don't want to be worried about what everybody else is thinking, or I have to uncomfortably put on a wig that I don't even like to make you feel happy. I don't think so. So how about I do me and y'all just rock with it. And if you can get with it, great. And if you can't, then that's your prerogative. But this is my experience. And I need to be able to show up in the world and be comfortable as I am. And it was a huge challenge, but I was ready. But it took me years. And I like to preference that because I meet so many women who see me do it bald 20 something years later. And they're like, I want to cut my hair off. I want to do it like, okay, wait a slow down, baby. I didn't just get here. I had to take my time. It took me years to gain my confidence to a place where I didn't care who was looking at me or what people were going to say. And so I like to tell women, be gentle with yourself. Just because you see other women doing it a certain way, this is my ministry. And I've been I've been called to be this representative in this community, and that I know, which is why I can stand in it the way that I do.
Wow.
But if you have not been called to the bald ministry, have
Wow.
several seats, because it ain't for
Oh,
everybody.
wow. So now you said something. I'm going to come back to that didn't care portion. And you also
Yeah.
said it didn't grow back. Does it ever grow back for some people, the hair?
So alopecia, yeah, because there are different phases and stages of alopecia. I have, like I said, the rarest form. Alopecia universalis, where you lose all of your hair everywhere. And so medically, once you get to that extreme of hair loss, the likelihood of it growing back is slim to none. Although the doctors are never the final say, right?
That's right.
Because,
That's right.
there's
That's right.
always miracles. I can find
That's right.
several people that said, I had no hair, and one day my hair just grew.
That's right.
Anything could happen, right? So we always leave room for what we don't know. Anything is
That's right.
possible. Miracles
That's
happen
right.
every single day. But medically, statistically, when you get to be to this level, there's a slim chance that it would ever grow back. But for people with alopecia areata, with just moderate patches, they still have their facial hair and their body hair. It comes in and out of remission. So it may grow back. There's treatments that could potentially help stimulate hair growth, injections of steroids or topical ointments. It could help you. So it's worth it to try. If you can use those things, light therapy, all different types of stuff, try it and see if you can get your hair to grow back, because it may grow back. And the thing is, though, it could fall out again, but it may grow back. And so for a lot of people, alopecia is a journey. It's not a
Yes.
one-time thing. It's something, it's in and out of season. Sometimes it's good. Other times you might be having an episode.
So let me ask you this. There was a time a few years ago where it seemed like a lot of women just started wearing bald heads. You
Yeah,
remember that, when it was like, you at first you didn't see it, then all of a
right.
sudden it was a new fashion statement, right?
Yeah.
So do you believe, or the statistics show that most of those women have alopecia, or some of them just making a statement?
That's a great question. I would really love to know. I would like to be able to attribute that to women like myself, and there's so many other women who are moving out in the world boldly, deciding to not hide and wear their hair bald. And I think that the more women that do that, and we begin to normalize it as an option, because bald is beautiful too. And once we
Yes.
begin to come out like that more, then we free up other women. We inspire other women. So I feel like there has definitely been a shift and a movement, especially among African American women, to just like, you know what, we're over it, And I think part of it too is the weaves and the relaxers and all of the things that we've done to our own hair. There's different forms of alopecia, and some of it is traction alopecia, things that
Wow.
our unhealthy hair care practices,
Wow.
right? You putting all
Wow.
that glue in your hair, those the weaves, and everybody be gluing all that crap in your hair. Your edges are coming out. Some of it is because we have to realize good hair is healthy hair. Let's start with that, right?
Wow.
So instead of compromising, oh, whatever it takes to be beautiful, not if it's ripping your hair out of your scalp, not if you're thinning and you're the one who's causing yourself to be bald because you're so adamant about adding all of these chemicals and products to your hair. And I think that there's an awareness there too. And so many women have had to cut their hair off because of all of the damage and over processing that we've done to ourselves because of the hairstyles that we've chosen. So that's part of it as well.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. If you're just coming in the room, my name is Crystal Bodie Smith. This is Story Time, and we are blessed to have the bald beauty queen that is telling us about how it has been to live with alopecia. Let me get it right, areata.
Good girl.
For the last 20 years. For the last 20 years. And if you have a question, you can certainly come up. I see one. I'm going to let you up, Sandra, if it's okay with you. Some people may want to come up in the camera, ask questions, or talk. Are you okay
Please.
with that?
Oh, I'd love
Now,
that. I'd love
the
that.
other thing I want to say is, she mentioned already that there are treatments and there could be some topical ointments.
Sure.
So if you are a person who has had alopecia, or you've lost some hair, you're not sure if you had it, and you want to ask a question, she's telling you what she knows. She's not saying she's a medical doctor or anything like that, but she has experience, so she may know what questions for you to ask. Now, she said something. She said bald is beautiful too. I want to ask you, how was that in the beginning with the men? A lot of times men they love beautiful hair. Like, did you have an issue, if you don't mind me asking, did you have an issue when you first was dating with a bald head? How do men react to it at first? You know, maybe now I think they're used to it, but was that a process as well?
Well, that's a great question. And so here's my reality, my very transparent reality. So when I got married when I was 21 years old. Before I was divorced, I was married for, it would have been 20, we just made 21 years by the time our divorce had went through. So I was already in a marriage, and then I developed alopecia. So I already had established a relationship with someone who loved me, accepted me for who I was. So I did not have to deal with the realities of being single in the world of alopecia until after my divorce, right? So
Right.
that changes everything. And so it was a challenge in and of itself within a marriage, because those are the kind of experiences that let you know if your spouse really loves you, right? We say for
Oh,
better or
wow.
for worse. And
Yes.
so now's the time where I don't look the way I looked when I stood at that altar. Can you still love and accept me and feel this unconditional love? And I always, you know, me and my ex-husband are not together, but I always give him credit for my journey, because I wouldn't be the woman I am and the level of confidence that I have today if he did not love on me the way he did in that season of our marriage. And I'm so very appreciative of him because he loved me through it. He affirmed me. He always made me feel beautiful. It was my internal struggle, but I did have an amazing support system, and he was a huge part of that. And I'm forever grateful to him for being that rock for me. Not all men do that. There's many women that go through alopecia and their husband or their significant other cannot handle it. They're not attracted to you. They want you to wear a wig. They're talking crazy to you. You know, it makes it even worse for you. So I just like to honor that and show my appreciation for helping me become the woman that I am today. So, but now
Wow.
as a single woman, it is challenging because I know it's not something that every man can handle. There are men that will, you know, and they're very specific men that will see me and say, wow, sis, that's what's up. I love your confidence. That's bold. That's sexy. They're attracted to a bold and confident woman. But then there are other men that it's too much. I'm from Wakanda, baby. They're not a king, so they can't handle a whole warrior queen. It's too much for them. It might be nice to
Wow.
look at, but do they have the type of confidence that they could stand with me in this experience, not worrying about what everybody else is saying, what their boys are thinking, right? So it's a level of maturity, first of all, and it's a level of confidence, second of all, and then it's a level of preference, and it's not everybody's preference. And I absolutely respect that. So it's very challenging as a single woman to manage the bald thing. But at the end of the day, who is for me and what's for me will be for me. And they have to. That's a requirement. If you can't handle the fact that I have this condition, you cannot date me. And so if it makes you uncomfortable, if you know, if you don't, you're not attracted to it, I'm not the woman for you. And I'm good with
Right.
that. Seriously.
Yes.
The last thing I'm going to do is apologize for who I am or the experiences I've had to go through that made me who I am. So it kind of, I feel like it kind of makes my selection choices maybe a little bit less. But at the end of the day, I trust that who and what is for me will show up. And I can't worry about the rest of it. I just can't.
Well, you know what, Sandra, you said something, and I want to acknowledge the guest. Do me a favor, Mark. Give me a little bit more light and come up a little bit so we can see your face. I'm going to cut the comments for a minute so we can see the faces, but feel free to put your questions in the comment box, and then I will bring back the comments in a minute so we can see you. Introduce yourself, and you may definitely ask a question if you have one. Let the people know your name and where you're calling from.
No problem. This is Mark Lee calling from Durham, North Carolina, actually calling from Hayti Heritage Center on this particular day. And actually, I know Sandra. I've known her
Yes.
for a while and everything. One of the things I was going to ask Sandra is, we've saw it a lot during this particular time and everything, where folks are trying to, for lack of a better term, belittle kind of the alopecia aspect of it being a disease. They want to say that it's not the same as losing your hair from, say, chemotherapy or some of those other things, and try to not actually understand the nature of alopecia. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, and some of the comments that I've been seeing online where people are trying to say that, you know, it's not as bad as, say, losing your hair off of chemotherapy or something along those lines, almost trying to make it a competition between the different ways that women lose their hair.
That's silly. And hey, Mark, it's good to see you, my friend. And thank you for chiming in with your question today. So I'm going to beg to differ on all of that. And I would like to start off by saying that pain is pain, right? And the experience of a woman losing her hair, regardless of what it is, whether she put a bad perm in it and it all fell out, or whether it was a medical condition. And there are many medical conditions, whether it be thyroid disease, some of the medications that we take. There are several reasons why we experience hair loss. The experience is all the same. And I would even dare to say that having alopecia, if it is worse than experiencing it with chemotherapy, because with chemotherapy, the truth of the matter is, if you're going through that experience, and shout out to all of my sisters surviving the struggle, right? But you know that when that chemotherapy session is over, your hair will grow back. That is the difference. Whereas I have been bald for 23 years. Okay? So it's not a medication thing that's causing my hair to fall out. It's my body. And so when it's that kind of thing, even with alopecia areata, it may fall out, but it may grow back, but it could absolutely fall out again. But when you're having an experience with chemotherapy, your hair falls out, but you know it's coming back. It may come back better than ever. It might be thinner. It might feel differently. The texture might change, but there is the confidence. It's just a season. With alopecia, that season is so unpredictable, or for someone like me, it could be permanent. And that changes the experience. You could go through something if you know what's the timeline, like, all right, how long we going to do this? Okay, if it's this long, okay, fine. You put it in your mind because you know that there's an expected end. But when it's a continuous, open-ended thing, it makes it even more difficult. But like I said, pain is pain, and we're all experiencing it. And it doesn't matter what the variables are. We're all feeling the same kind of uncomfort.
Yes. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mark. We have another question for her. And welcome, young lady. We're going to bring you up. Come up a little bit so we can see your face.
Yeah, just one quick follow-up question and everything. One is, I know a lot of this has to do with what happened over during the Oscars and everything. Were you surprised, Sandra, that Chris went there? Because definitely he's been known to have an understanding of what good hair is and what the whole conversation around hair is. Shucks, he did the movie Good Hair, which is about the industry and all of that. So were you surprised by that aspect? And if I can ask on the opposite side of that, were you surprised that Jada went and actually has been an advocate for alopecia? Because a lot of times people are not always seeing her in that advocacy role either.
So as it relates to Chris, you know, that whole situation is so complicated because we don't have all the information. So it's almost like we're all talking, and it's almost an effort and futility to try to figure it out because it's a puzzle piece. We don't have all the pieces. So, I mean, at the moment, we are assuming a bunch of things. We assume that he knew. We assume he wrote the joke. We assume this and we assume that, and we get angry. But as the days are going, information is coming forward. Now there's information that know that she had alopecia. There's information going around that he didn't even write the joke, right? Because a lot of times they're just reading off of a teleprompter. Someone else is writing the jokes. So at the end of the day, what I don't believe is that he was being malicious, right? I don't think he was being ugly. And we don't know these people, so there's no way for us to get pissed off because we don't absolutely know anything about anything. So I just don't believe that he was being malicious and trying to be ugly towards her. Here's the other piece I want to say about that really quickly. When, you know, and I heard another person made this comment, G.I. Jane The movie in and of itself was about a woman who was empowered. It was not like, you know, she is just some ugly woman or something negative. G.I. Jane, that's a compliment in and of itself if you think about what that movie was even about. The other thing is, when people see someone as gorgeous as Jada Pinkett Smith, and she's representing the bald look so beautifully and so powerfully, you would never assume that it hurts her feelings for you to make a joke, because, girl, you are fine. What could hurt your feelings? You look amazing. You look like a model. So why would we think in any way that anything that you say that would be, it's like saying that she was from Wakanda. Well, that doesn't hurt my feelings because those sisters were warriors. They were beautiful. So you make a reference to me being from Wakanda, that's a compliment to me. So she could have just as well taken G.I. Jane as a compliment. Who would know that it would offend her? And so that's my piece on the Chris Rock. As far as Jada and alopecia, I think through her Red Table Talk, and I do follow her work, she does talk about her journey. I think she, you know, she even had the Bald Boss movement on her show to talk about bald empowerment and just, you know, women loving themselves and being their natural selves and not having to rely on, you know, hair or any of those external attributes to feel beautiful. So I feel like she does do a great job in terms of advocating and then sharing the sincerity of the challenge of losing her hair, because it's different. You may, when you choose to do something, you own the experience. When something is happening to you, whether you want it to or not, it's a very, very different feeling. And so, yeah, I feel like she's definitely representing it well and sharing her truth and what she's going through. Just like shout out to Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. You know, it's happening to us, and women in power are sharing, which is really helping so many other women that they'll never ever meet come out of their shell and to feel comfortable in their skin and to heal, which is what it's all about.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you so much for the questions, Mark. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mark.
Introduce yourself. We have a new question on the floor, and let us know where you're calling in from.
Actually, my name is Wanda Holland. I'm from Raleigh. Hi, baby. Nice to see you.
Wanda. Nice to see you too.
I just got in from work. I turned on my phone. I saw you on, and I just wanted to join because my friend is on, and I've seen you before. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, moderator.
Sandra.
What's her name?
Crystal.
Crystal. Yeah. I have seen you before, but I didn't know your name, and I just I love Sandra. She is a very beautiful, talented, strong, and confident Black woman, Black queen. And when I just opened my phone, I was drawn to what you were talking about, because I've had to sort of defend or talk about or explain what happened on the Oscars, in my opinion. All of that. And I don't know anybody there. I don't know Will. I don't know Jada. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody, but to put myself in that situation, and I try to understand all of that. I work in a college, so I have to see what everybody is thinking or feeling at the time. Will was at a moment where it was the most important evening of his career. He was nervous. He was scared. He was every
emotion
thing that could happen to a man at that moment. And like you said, Sandra, I don't think the person who wrote that joke, even they probably knew, because Jada talks about it all the time, but they just thought it was something that they could joke about, because Chris Rock is a comedian and could pull it off. He pulled off the joke, but the joke was in poor taste. And Will just viscerally reacted. I
Right.
do not condone violence at all. I was in the armed forces
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an actor and all of that. And I don't condone violence at all. But like I said on my Facebook page, I understood it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what they decide to do to Will or about all of this, that's not, I don't have anything to do with that. But
Right.
I understood what he was feeling at the moment. And he didn't count to 10. He didn't do all the things that we tell our students to do before they hit somebody. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't do any of that.
Right.
And he acted out of his own, what you were saying about my wife whose hair that I love, because Will loves her hair,
Mm-hmm.
and she uses her hair in her chosen profession, and
Right.
I think he just reacted. Now everybody else is reacting, and it's just it's just crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
One moment. Miss Barbara, mute your microphone one moment. I thank you so much for joining, young lady, and doing that because you knew Sandra and you wanted to give support. See, that's what it's about. Miss Pope is a young lady that I know that is out here, Sandra. This young lady to the right, Miss Barbara Pope, she's 80 years old. She's 80
Aw.
years old. Betty, I'm sorry, I done called you Barbara. Miss Betty
That's
Pope.
okay, baby.
And I know she's seen some things in her time, and I wanted
Yeah.
to give her, when I saw her pop on the live, I wanted to give her the opportunity if she had anything she wanted to say because, like I said, she's been around for some things.
Yeah.
And so with everything that has transpired with this whole thing, I just wanted to give her the opportunity in case she wanted to give some input or ask any questions for you because we don't have too many people out here like Miss Betty. So I definitely wanted to honor her and give her the opportunity.
Awesome.
Introduce yourself, Miss Betty.
I didn't understand, honey. What did you say?
I said introduce yourself, and if you have any questions for the young lady, this is Miss Sandra. She's had alopecia areata for 20 years, and she's educating individuals on it. And I didn't know if you wanted to ask a question or make a statement.
I did. I'm Betty Polk here. I can't see her. Why can't I see her?
You can't see her.
The
I'm not
writing
sure.
is over her
It's only the
face.
two of us.
Oh,
Can
there
you
you
see?
go. There you
Can
go.
you see her now?
No.
I'm waving.
It's only the two of us.
Okay, come out. I'm gonna take you out and bring you back up. Ask the request again. Maybe that's something else, and I'll bring you back up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, she's 80 years old. 80
I love it.
years old. Isn't
I
that
love
something?
it.
And some of us are like, wow. And she's
Love
out here in these IG streets doing her thing, educating and empowering and inspiring people. You know, she's seeing
Yes.
some things we haven't seen.
I love it.
While she's making her way back, I want to ask you this question, Sandra. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that about the relationship, because a lot of people feel like they are their hair. You know what I'm saying? And when you said that you are confident, but I want to ask you, did you get insulted personally when Chris Rock told that joke, or did you feel like it wasn't that bad? If Will would not have reacted that way, would you have kind of let it roll off?
Totally. Me personally, again, I think it's all about sensitivity. And that sensitivity is based on where you're at in your experience, right? And so maybe in the beginning of me having alopecia, you couldn't say anything to me. Don't even mention that I'm going through this experience. Even when I was wearing a wig, if someone said, I like your wig, it would offend me because I would assume that they knew that I had alopecia. And so they're being funny or they're like,
Right.
it's what's going on in your own mind, right? It's our own filters that are based on our own insecurities and anxieties that we can often project onto other people. And it may not even mean that. So whereas where I'm sitting right now, after 20 years, I done heard some jokes. I could take a joke. It's going to take quite a bit to offend me. I can laugh at myself. You know what I mean? So if somebody pulls a punch about my bald head, I'm just like, please, whatever. You know, I can laugh at myself, but I'm healed and I can do that now. Whereas someone who's at the beginning stages and still processing, it's still tender. You can't touch it. And nobody can tell you, oh, get over it. It's my emotion.
Yes.
You're talking about me. I'm embarrassed. This is not fair. I'm still dealing with my feelings. So you can't necessarily tell that joke and it just land with me to be funny because it's based on my filters. So for Sandra DeBose, for him to tell a joke about G.I. Jane, in the climate that we're in, we're at the Oscars. They roast people. That is what we do, right? They've made so many jokes throughout the night already. So it's kind of like you can't sit up here and be sensitive. You're going to have some thick skin if you're going to sit in this front row and if you're going to be a celebrity, period, because you're always going to be the butt of somebody's joke. You know, that's just, it comes with the territory. It's not fair, but it's the culture that we live in. So for me personally, it didn't offend me, but it was because it wasn't that, in no way did he say like, you're ugly or anything. You know what I mean? It's like G.I. Jane. Okay, G.I. Jane. But that's just me, not to take away how it may have felt for her. And to me, it really felt like there's some people that you could take a joke from because I like you. But the way she rolled her eyes made me feel like maybe she don't like him anyway. Like there's a backstory.
Wow.
There's some people, it's like, you keep your mouth closed. Now, my friend could tell a joke and it'd be funny. But you don't say nothing to me. And it felt very much like maybe they got beef. Maybe there's some backstory between these people that we don't know, that he know better. You just keep your mouth quiet because I'm 2 seconds off you anyhow. You know, it could be that. We don't know the story. I'd love to know. But to me, it looked like there was some other stuff happening because I'm like, to me, that was not a bad joke. Not to say that you should be joking about, but he wasn't joking about alopecia. Bald for many women is a choice. So if you don't know that she's struggling, if you don't know that it's a health condition or what have you, then if I chose to shave my hair bald, then that's not a joke that offends me if I chose it. Right? So it just all depends.
Yes.
Too many variables, no absolutes.
I'm trying to get you back in, Miss Polk, you know, Instagram. You know, when you're dealing with the internet, you just have to go along with it. Sometimes it cooperates and sometimes it don't. So I've been trying to do that right now. Anyone else have a question, feel free to put it in a box. There's a question box on the bottom. Make sure you follow Miss Sandra, too, because, Sandra, you have a podcast as well, don't you?
I do, and actually,
have it?
I am closing it out so that I can move on to other things in my career, my list of things I want to do. And as you know, a podcast is a lot of work. So I'm kind of phasing through that. But there's still wonderful content out there. So you can check out the Urban Parlay podcast. And I have so much wonderful content. I've had some incredible guests. So you can always check it out on my YouTube page, my YouTube channel. And also streaming on all podcast platforms. You can check out the Urban Parlay podcast.
Now, somebody wrote that it's interesting seeing contrast between this incident and the way people are trying to attack Miss Brown Jackson. Miss Pope, it's not letting me bring you up. I've been trying for the whole time. Put your question in there right now. I don't know why. It's telling me you can't join. Maybe remove the request and try again. I don't know why it's doing that, but type your question in the box. I'm so sorry. I've been trying to hit the thing to bring you up, but it's just not working. I do apologize. I don't know what's going on, you know. So what else is ahead for you, Miss Sandra? Do you feel as though because this happened, you want to do some more engagements and probably educate people more? Do you think that this right here has sparked something that will allow you to go out there and advocate even more?
Yeah, almost definitely. And I you know, out of every storm, there's always a rainbow, right? And so the one thing that I kept thinking was, what was so important to me and to so many women is alopecia areata awareness, right? Because, like I said, there are many children that are suffering from this condition. Just a few weeks ago, there was a young lady, a young girl. I can't remember. She might have been 8 or 9. I can't remember what state she was in, but she committed suicide. And she was just a little girl because she was bullied in school, right? And so, you know, our children that are going through this experience, they're going to school, especially if you're a little girl, you're trying to wear a wig, you know, but you can't play on the playground with little wigs on your hair. You know, children can be very mean. They're snatching your wig off. They're making fun of you. Even little boys that don't have any eyebrows, they want to wear their baseball cap, to cover up the fact that they don't have eyebrows because they look differently. And then you have schools that are making it difficult, saying, oh, it's against school policy for you to wear a hat. Well, his hat is his safety net that makes him feel comfortable because he won't get stared at, or he won't get bullied because he doesn't have eyebrows. And so there's a generation of young people that need more people to know and to normalize the understanding of what alopecia is, so that they won't be teased, so that, you know, people don't, you know, say, oh, you're contagious, or staring and saying mean and ugly things, that people understand, and that they understand what may be happening to them. Because there's a huge population that might start to experience hair loss, especially in the African American community, and they don't go to the dermatologist to investigate. They may just say, oh, I'm embarrassed. They don't want to deal with it. They're hiding, as opposed to going to the doctor and finding out what treatment options are available to them that could help them manage it. So there's so much education that needs to happen. So I'm really grateful that this alopecia areata is the buzzword right now. Like, people know what it is. And it's unfortunate that it had to be done in this way, but it's done. So now we can continue to have more conversations about it. And every time I go out, whether I'm speaking about just general women's empowerment and self-esteem, if I'm going out singing, I'm always representing alopecia awareness and taking the opportunity to tell people. And 9 times out of 10, they either know someone, wow, I know someone who had that. Is that what they have? Or maybe someone in their family. So the education piece is really, really important to help those who are challenged manage and have a society of people that they understand what's happening. It's not so taboo. We don't have to hide. We can come out. The water's fine.
Wow. Ms. Pope, I do see your question. I was going to suggest that you hit the X on the top and leave and come back, and maybe it'll let you join. Ms. Pope put the question in there. She asked about the stress. She may have come after we asked that, and she asked how old were you when you got the alopecia.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure, if you just joining, Sandra did talk about children having it and men having it. So understand, this is not just directed towards women, but she did talk about her journey, and it did begin when you were 25, correct?
When I was 25 years old. And quite honestly, it was a very stressful time in my life. So I personally do think 2 things. One, it was the stress that I was under. And also, a lot of autoimmune diseases for women happen during their childbearing years. So because we have so many hormonal challenges that are going on in our body, so hormonal changes, excuse me. And because I had just had my daughter, she was just 1 year old, my body was still in that phase of, you know, and so that's when it started.
Here I am.
There you are. Can you see me now? Can you see me this time?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Let me turn. Wait, I was getting ready to try and do it on my tablet, but wait a minute. Let me turn this noise down. Listen.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your name, darling?
Sandra. My name is Sandra.
Sandra, you've got gorgeous eyes.
Thank you.
Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
Let me tell you something. God knows who to send things to.
Okay.
Because you are the one, honey.
Thank you.
To get the word across.
Thank
you.
I appreciate that. Thank
There
you.
are some of us he sends special children to.
Mm-hmm.
And they got some of us that he sends let different things happen to us in our lives because he knows that we're going to communicate it to others, and we're going to do it in a special way. And this is what he has done for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've never heard it done. I mean, just listening to it in bits and pieces and trying to get on to tell you this. Oh my God, you're fantastic.
Thank you so much.
You're just wonderful. You should be the spokesperson for it. You should be the spokesperson for alopecia.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know what? I represent it wherever I go. If there was a company that would love for me to be the spokesperson, here I am. But I'm gonna always share my story and my gratitude for, you know, for where God has brought me from.
The stress cause this problem?
Yeah, and so we talked about that. Is that
okay? I missed the first half.
Oh, that's fine. And so for some people, I personally believe that it can be a factor, but that's not like medically an absolute, because like I shared, there are children that are just babies that are experiencing alopecia. So they don't have any stress. And so if it was stress that causes it, then they would be exempt because they just got here. What are they stressed about? You know what I mean?
Well,
So but for some
children,
people,
children are stressed.
yeah, but I'm talking about like, I'm sorry, say it again, Miss Betty.
In today's society, there are children who are stressed.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, very
Unfortunately,
much so.
but babies have it too.
Yes, even babies. I mean, it's international. It is not about race or age, anything. Men, women, men can get it in their beards, which is very difficult. They may have a bald patch that just doesn't grow in. It's for everyone. So many people are dealing with it. Millions of people are dealing with it. So stress can be a factor, but it's not always for everybody the deciding factor.
How old were you when it started?
How
old were you when it?
I was 25 years old when it started, and I'll be 48 on Sunday, April 3rd. Praise God.
Wow. Yay. Now, let me tell y'all this. I'm looking at something here. It says that it can happen gradually by thinning on the top of the head. It can happen with a circular or patchy bald spot. It can be sudden loosening of the hair. It can be full body hair loss. And then, of course, like you said, the eyebrows and the beard. So the doctor that people should go see, Sandra, is a dermatologist?
A dermatologist. Yes, a dermatologist would be the one you would go see and get treatment. Yes.
Okay. And now I wanted to ask you, is there a lot of support groups for this?
Yeah, so there's support groups. There's a national nonprofit organization, and then, there are support groups all throughout the United States. I actually started a support group years ago here in the Raleigh area, the alopecia community of the Triangle. And it's one of those things. Here's the interesting thing about alopecia is that everybody's in a different place with it. And some people are still so embarrassed and they're hiding that they really don't always want to come together. They don't always want to talk about it. Right. And so you may have a few that are on the other side of the experience and they want to go out and help other people. But then you have others that kind of shy away. So it was a difficult thing to kind of maintain because everybody's in a different place with it. But there definitely are support groups in different states, and anybody can start their own, like any other initiative that you're passionate about. Wow. There's always somebody that needs a resource of someone to talk to that has experienced this. And so for me, I kind of left the support group aspect so that I can go out and reach a bigger audience and share my story as an entertainer and on stages. And I feel like I've had a greater impact and been able to reach more people focusing that way for me.
And you did. Yesterday she was on our local news. Let me tell you what I'm seeing here. It says the number of factors that can increase hair loss could be a family history of balding on your mother or father's side, age, significant weight loss, certain medical conditions such as diabetes or lupus, stress, and poor nutrition. Now, the other thing Sandra talked about, ladies, is watch how you take care of your hair. Watch how you're putting that glue in your hair when you're getting those weaves and doing everything, because we take that for granted, but that doesn't help. That contributes to the problem. So we want to make sure that we're aware of those things here. Sandra, I want to thank you so much for just sharing all these things. Is there anything particular that I did not ask you that you would like to tell people? Now, I do want to ask you one other thing. Let me digress.
Okay.
You said that in the beginning of the stage, it's not easy. Would you say that Jada's in the beginning of her stage? Because she hasn't had it that long, right? So she's probably in the beginning stages, right? Under 5 years is probably like beginning, right?
I would definitely say so. Yes, I would definitely say so.
So then, with that being the case, it would not be, even though she recently had a video where she said that she really didn't care what people said, I guess it's not abnormal for her to still have a reaction being in a public place when that happens, because we're all human. You know? So, I just want to ask you, in regards to the slap, I feel as though Will was out of line because of the location or because of the fact that he stepped up to protect her? Do you commend him for protecting her because you understand her pain?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard for me to condone that behavior, period. There's no condoning the way that he did it. He was wrong on every level. And, you know, if he felt like he wanted to defend her honor, there's a way to do that, you know, where you don't have to ruin the day and the moment for everyone who worked so hard, who deserved to be there. I feel like the way and the moment that he chose to do it was selfish. And it would have been just as impactful, if not more, if he could have said it, made a comment in his speech. He could have, you know, spoke to Chris after the show. You know, he could have said something in the news. There's so many ways for him to get his point across that did not have to look like you getting up and having that kind of outburst in front of everybody and ruining a moment that was bigger than what you and Jada were experiencing in that moment. You have to use some restraint. It could have waited. It's not like the man was coming to punch your woman in the face. He did not come to attack her. There's a way that you can handle that and still be effective. So, but do I appreciate him wanting to defend her honor? Absolutely. I think if you know, when it comes to the people that you love, you know, sometimes we may act up. You know, you feel like I want to immediately kind of go after that person, but at the end of the day, we have to use our common sense and our maturity to read the room. This is not the time. This is not the place. And it's only going to cause damage for everyone. He has done irreparable damage. Irreparable damage. And what did we gain from that? You know, what did he gain from that? So yeah, I'm pretty sure he wishes that he would have done things differently. And that's a lesson for everybody. You don't get a pass to just go up and do whatever you want to do. There are implications. There are consequences to that. And the consequences for what he did are so far reaching. And I know he didn't think that through, because all of the people that were impacted by that.
Yes. So, because it was a monumental night for us as a culture. Yes. So
absolutely.
Again, I want to thank you. Ms. Polk, did you have any other questions?
No, I just want to say she's beautiful.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you for being so well versed about your subject. I mean, you know it all.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We had another question. I'm trying to see if I could bring them in to see if it's coming up. Mark, you may have to put it in. You may have. Oh, it may have allowed you to come in because I don't see it. It went away. Oh, there you go.
There he is.
I wanted to show you something else that I'm reading here before Mark does his questions.
Okay.
I'm reading something that says alopecia symptoms, the main and often the only symptom of alopecia is hair loss. But it says you may notice small bald patches on your scalp or other parts of your body. Patches may get larger and grow together into one bald spot. It says hair grows back in one spot and falls out in another. It says you lose hair over a short time. It says more hair loss in the cold seasons. And then it says fingernails and toenails become red and brittle. Have you had any of those things with the fingernails and toenails and the hair loss in the cold?
My hair's been gone so long, I don't know about the cold. I'm already at the end stage of it, so it happened pretty quickly for me. But as far as the nails and the toes, I've not experienced that me personally, but I know several other people with alopecia that have reported that they had some issues with their nail beds. So yeah, I've heard of that, but I haven't had that issue.
All right, Mark, you had another question or comment?
No, first off, Sandra, you're doing great. You're doing an amazing job as a spokesperson, both for the theater world as well as those that are suffering from alopecia. So I wanted to praise you for that. But one of my quick questions I was going to ask is the contrast between what we're seeing in this case and the way that Miss Brown Jackson has been treated. And I know that a lot of people that are into the Wakanda movement, myself as well, are very proud of who is soon going to be our first African-American woman Supreme Court Justice. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about that as well.
About her being the Supreme Court Justice?
Yes, and having that Wakanda spirit, because I think she has that Wakanda
Oh,
spirit
heck
as
yeah.
well.
I think you need it. You have to have it. It is mandatory. It is a requirement of the job in order to be able to deal with the forces that are coming against her. You got to know. You got to move with the ancestors, honey, because she is trailblazing a path for so many others, and they're not going to make it easy for her. There's a lot of shenanigans and stupidity and ignorance that she's going to have to move through and stand firm like a warrior. And our position is to stand behind her and to continue, as the young man, I can't remember his name, Senator, was it Booker? Is his name Booker? Yes.
Booker, yes.
Like,
Cory Booker,
we
I
got to
believe it
speak
is.
out. We got to speak out and speak up for one another, because it's going to take all of our energy for us to get to the places where we are long overdue in positions we are long overdue in being in. So I'm super proud of her and super excited, and we're going to make it happen, and we're going to support her in that journey no matter what.
Well, I got to say this. I am proud of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And, can I just say, it really is very humbling, because it really, I always say, it's just the simplicity of, I had an experience. I didn't ask to have alopecia like anybody else who's dealing with the disease, and I've only made the decision through the grace of God. I cannot take any credit for myself, because, I've been depressed. I've been, my faith has been shattered. It took me years to be able to get to this place, and a lot of different challenges, ups and downs, and it still is a challenge to this day. It doesn't end. This is a good day today, but not every day feels this way. If I could have my hair back tomorrow, I would love to have my hair back, because I still, even 20-something years later, I didn't choose this. And if I could choose for myself, I'd have a ponytail right now, but I don't have that choice. And so I'm just humbled, and I'm really grateful to God that He's given me the strength to endure and the grace to endure, that I could be seen as an inspiration to someone else, because some days it certainly doesn't feel like it. So thank you for that honor. It really encourages me to keep going and to stand in it. So thank you so much, both of you, all of you. Thank you.
No doubt.
Miss Betty.
Hey, if I can just ask one more. If I can just ask one more quick question, Crystal. How important do you think it is?
Though we don't want to get off on the topic, but
No, it's on topic, but it's really about the alopecia, but also about something that Sandra does really well and everything, which is using theater and the arts as a means to get your message across. Because I do know you as a theater person and all of that. So how important do you think it is for you to use your art form to get the message out, whether it's about this or whether it's about other things that you are concerned about? So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the arts and the use of arts to get the message out. Oh my God,
art imitates life. So there is no better medium for us to be able to share what we're going through as artists and be able to express that. And, I'm really passionate about that, because, I believe that the devil comes to kill and steal and destroy. And so, when I started to have alopecia, the very first thing that it made me want to do was to run. I've always been an extrovert. I've always been an artist, but it threatened my self-esteem to the point where I didn't want to be in the center stage anymore. I didn't want to share my gifts because I was too afraid to have someone looking at me. I didn't want to be, I didn't want to feel like I needed to compete against the normal women who had hair, who looked beautiful. It took so much away that I started to question whether or not I wanted to do the very thing that God had given me to do, was to perform. And so to be able to get to the point where I've built my self-esteem, and I know that it's an attribute. I don't have to look like everybody else, that I could use my bald identity as a unique identity to say, this is how Sandra stands out in a wonderful way. And that is an inspiration to so many other people that look different for different reasons. This is my story, but everybody's got a story. But the truth is, there's room for all of us as we are, just as we are. There is no stereotype. Everybody got to look like a Barbie doll. Everybody got to be a size 6, have long hair, look like a model. Art is imitating life, and real life is that we are all so diverse, big, fat, short, or tall, and we all have room at the table to be able to represent life and to tell the story.
Yes, yes. Everybody. Now, Sandra, people don't know she sings too, Miss Betty. If you think you like her as a spokesperson, my. Sandra, I wish you'd give us a talk. That woman, when she sings and she acts. Woo! That's because I know you said you're going to stop doing your podcast because you're going to go into other things. Can you bless us with a song?
Okay. I'll just sing.
Just
my voice. Can you hear me? Am I okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'll leave you with a song that India Ari sings that encourages me, that wraps up this show and our whole intention for this evening, which is I am not my hair, I am not this skin, I am not your expectations, no, I am not my hair, I am not this skin, I am the soul that lives within. I'm not my hair.
Lord, if that ain't a way to end the show.
Great.
That's what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard from Miss Sandra. Click the arrow on the top of your screen and follow her. She is our bald beauty queen in North Carolina. When was that you won that?
Oh, it was 2011. That was almost 11 years ago now. Almost 11 years ago.
Well, you're still a queen, though. You still, every time you walk into a room, you're still a queen.
Thank you,
Every
sis.
time you get on the stage, you're still a queen. Every time you open your mouth, you're still a queen. Just like Miss Polk said, you went through this because you made for this, young lady, because you are bold enough and beautiful enough to stand up and be an advocate. So I do hope that somebody sees this. Mark is going to help me. This live is going to be going to be shared. Where else, Mark? Where else will we share this live?
It's going to be shared in about also on international broadcast media, which is going to about 175, 200 countries, and it will be seen on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and a number of other outlets as well. So I know that when I just met recently with Nick, the founder of that, it will also be eventually uploaded to Roku, and we were getting something like close to several 100,000 views at that location. So you'll be seen around, and we'll definitely be getting the word out and all of that.
So we want to thank you, Miss Betty, for your input. Thank you, Mark, for your input. Any closing comments? Miss Sandra?
No, the only closing comment I was going to say is that Sandra is amazing, and I'd love to hear whether she's got any closing comments, because I've known her for a while, and definitely anytime, as both of you have said, that she steps into a performance space, whether it's in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, or anywhere around the country, she captivates the audience and always does an amazing job. I've been a fan of hers for years and continue to be a fan as well. So don't know that she knew that, but I am a big-time fan of Sandra and think that she is truly amazing, and I have never seen a performance where she doesn't bedazzle the audience.
What's coming up next?
I don't have any.
Do you have any shows, anything?
I don't have any performances coming up next, but stay tuned. For those people that want to stay connected with me, my website is sandradebose.com. You can connect with me on Twitter, on Instagram at Bald Beauty Queen, and on Facebook. So I just want to thank you guys so much, because you have no idea the encouraging words that you're giving to me. I'm like welling up. My heart is so full to be able to get that feedback from people that I also admire and respect so much. So I appreciate your support over the years, and just you sharing this platform for me to be able to just tell my story. So keep doing what you're doing, all of you. I love you guys, and I'm just
love you.
Gonna go someplace and cry. I'm gonna cry tonight.
Beautiful, stay beautiful. Stay positive. Stay beautiful.
I will. Thank you.
And on that note, have a wonderful evening. Come back and see us on Storytime anytime you have a story, and share this message. Share this live. Have a blessed day. And keep hope alive. My name is Crystal Bodie Smith, and I thank you. Have a